Some breaking news. Darrion Williams has withdrawn from the NBA draft. This has long been rumored. I think college basketball fans and multiple college basketball programs have been wanting this to happen. There's been some T word, I think, going on with Darrion Williams, going back to the immediate end of Texas Tech season. Some tampering, some ideas of, hey, we would have some money available for you if you decide, in fact, to play college basketball. Until now, Darrion has told people he's been focused on the NBA draft. But if you watch Darrion Williams' performances at the combine, hard to say he was focused on the NBA draft. He looked completely disengaged. Just for lack of a better word, he looked flat out bad. He did not look like normal Darrion Williams at the draft combine. And I think this was the expectation from all parties involved that watched him at the combine. The feedback he received seemed to be, you should go back to college. And now here we are. Darrion Williams is very good. 15 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, 3.5 assists per game last season at Texas Tech. Where he goes next is going to be really interesting. This is not one of those recruitments or announcements that comes with the expectation that he knows where he's going. Oftentimes, we have seen, like with Boogie Flan, for example, he withdrew from the combine and it was expected from the jump. This is Florida. It's going to be a quick decision. He's going. Darrion Williams is going to be more complicated than that. And in fact, here's a very quick indication of that. The Field of 68, reporting this news, said that two of the leaders to land him are Kansas and NC State, per a source. 3 minutes before that, the Ohio State Hoops Insider, who has 11,000 followers on Twitter, tweeted that a source tells them that Williams will likely choose between Ohio State, BYU, and Auburn. I don't think anyone knows. I think
The hell?
we've got sources all over the place reporting different schools. What I can say is this: very early into the summer, BYU was heavily rumored as a landing spot. Kansas has been constantly rumored as a landing spot. I have heard Ohio State from multiple people in the last couple days as a potential landing spot. And then you've got Auburn and NC State as well. Auburn could theoretically have Todd Pettiford money to throw at him. NC State has missed on a bunch of targets and has money to throw at him. So this is going to get complicated. You think that's a fair read, Cart?
What's Des Claude doing?
Nobody knows.
Okay, I feel like that's getting lost in all this. No one really cares about it.
Well, and
Uh,
a bunch of schools that didn't have money for Des Claude suddenly have money for Darrion Williams. Isn't that funny?
Free Des Claude, man. This is crazy, dog. My guy's going through it. Like he's the Montoya of the transfer portal. It's really getting nasty out here. But I mean, look. I think obviously this is going, I think a money-driven decision is going to be very much in play here. I think that the schools that have been even mentioned are ones that can have a lot of money and have a lot of money for Darrion Williams. And, there's a couple schools that you mentioned that I think would have a role for him. I personally, maybe it's the Red Raider in me. I would love for him to go back to Texas Tech. If he goes back to Texas Tech, they're my number one team in the country, by the way. I want to make that very, very, very clear.
So Texas Tech fans obviously want that, but I think you're the only person on earth that's not a Texas Tech fan that wants that. Not that I would like watching Texas Tech with him. Everyone knows that's good. But hasn't it been pretty clear from the jump Darrion Williams isn't seriously considering that?
Possibly, but
Like
like also
he's leaving them in the dust. I'll be honest. It seems like he's doing them dirty. Because you're
which,
right. They would be preseason top two if
which
Darrion Williams went
which
back.
which is crazy too, by the way, because in the world of everything happening, by the way, Texas Tech and Grant McCaslin turned Darrion Williams into a all Big 12 first team player, like all American level player. With all, I know he did part of that too, but I think that McCaslin's ability to let him play his game and do what he wants to do, I think very much aided in that. But you look at these other spots, it's just some interesting fits. Like Jake Diebler's on the list, going to play for NC State, like him and Trey Holloman forming something. I can tell you right now, if he goes to Kansas, I would love like the fit and everything like that. He would be the first person I would put a sizable bet on when we do our little preseason game where we get points for predictions. That Bill Self is throwing Darrion Williams under the bus by November.
It's fair. It's
So
fair
it's
to
like
be skeptical of that.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's fair to be skeptical of that. Why do you think that he's not? I mean, I don't want to say he's not considering Texas Tech because I think there is still a possibility that he returns here. You have long been adamant that Texas Tech has as much money as anybody.
Hmm.
It's hard for me to follow why, if they have as much money as anybody, why they wouldn't be able to keep him here.
So I think Texas Tech doesn't feel a certain way about. I think Texas Tech feels a certain way about this. They might not want him. Like Texas Tech, the coaching staff and the team might not want him back for how dirty he did them.
They might be sick of his bullshit and
Yeah,
basically said, you know what, we got Lawan Watts, we're good. You burned a bridge here.
yeah. Like this is like you know what you're an All-American level player, but also at the same time we got some pride and we got some stuff that we aren't gonna budge on for anybody. So like yeah, you want to go do that? Go ahead. Hope the grass is greener on the other side.
Okay. Can we go through the schools that I mentioned are sort of being leaked as potential options for him right now and just say like what we think of a potential fit for him?
Yeah.
So you and I would both love it if he did return to Texas Tech, but it just doesn't seem like that's really on the table, which is kind of crazy. Kansas, I would call the presumed leader. Like if we're gonna put odds on Darrion Williams at the Greg Waddell Sportsbook, I'm making Kansas minus 110 as the landing spot for Darrion Williams. This entire cycle, Bill Self has sort of been missing the big splash ad. He tried to swoop in on Dame Sarr and something went awry. Maybe what went awry was some conversations behind closed doors that Darrion Williams was going to become available. We've seen Bill Self steal a player from Texas Tech before. Would not be the first, probably won't be the last time that happens. And there's a very obvious gap at his position on the Kansas roster. Theoretically, I think based on who Kansas has added, by the way, they have a lot of money available. I don't know that for sure, but I would think if this is a bidding war, Kansas could outbid everybody at this point. They're not like a BYU that spent a ton already. Kansas did not spend $6 million on Trey White here. So, do you think that's the correct read? Number one, that Kansas is the team to beat here, and then two, what's your perception of that? Like, is that a good decision for Darrion Williams if he goes to Kansas?
I do think so because I think he get to play with one of the more dynamic guards in the country. Possible, first round. I'm sorry, possible top draft and top pick in the draft in Darren Peterson. And I think a lot of the things that Darren Williams would want in a front court partner, he would get from Flory Badunga. Like I think that would work, and then you surround him with other role players that can shoot the ball. I think it would work for Kansas, and it would end up after the whole Kansas offseason conversation, it would end up with it being a really successful offseason, I think, getting the players that they got. So yeah, I think you're 100% spot on. I think the money, the fit, the role, everything lines up for Kansas being a player here. The top player, I think.
So that's my read. I think basketball wise, it's probably the best fit of his options that aren't Texas Tech here. Also,
Yeah, so is basketball wise his priority?
I don't think so, but just where would we think his numbers would be best? He would have the best individual season. I think it'd be Kansas, and I think they'd be really good. If they added Darrion Williams, I think he'd be a stud, and they'd be really good. The only problem is I think you're right. If things go wrong, Bill Self would throw him under the bus. Like you might not want to be that guy who could be the next Kevin McCullough or be the
Mm.
next AJ Storer. That it doesn't work, and all of a sudden your coach and your teammates are blaming you. That's happened repeatedly to the high profile Kansas transfers every single year. And that's the risk of going to Kansas. To me, I think he's good enough and the team build around him is perfect enough fit wise that it wouldn't happen. But we've been duped before. And to me, that would be the risk.
Hey, flip side on that, to your point, that won't happen though. This is a new era. That happens on Hunter Dickinson led teams.
Yeah, I guess so. We'll see. This is a little breaking news. While this breaks, Matt Norlander is reporting that Ohio State is the team to beat for Darrion Williams.
Ooh, okay. So in this tier, I want to put unserious individuals, and in that tier, I want to put Darrion Williams. And that's the last person in the tier.
If Darrion Williams chooses to go to Ohio State over Texas Tech or any of these other options, number one, it says something about whatever money Ohio State must have. But I want it known that may be the worst decision that any transfer has ever made.
Yes.
This would be miles worse than the Coleman Hawkins Kansas State route, than pick whatever possible transfer you want to isolate and say that flopped. And I'm not saying Ohio State would be that bad. You got a team with Bruce Thornton, John Mobley, Devin Royal, and all of a sudden Darrion Williams. I mean, that team is probably top 10-ish in the country at that point. Christoph Tilley at the 5. Like, I can get behind that 5. That's a nasty team. But leaving a great situation with a great coach to go play for Jake Diebler with the same core that Jake Diebler missed the tournament with would be an all-time I'm unserious decision from a player. And I would just look at it sideways the entire time.
Yeah, I would 100% look at it sideways. And then it would be, I mean, a team with Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, Mobley. I mean, honestly, a really good team, obviously, but like, just it would not make any sense to me.
Would be nonsensical if that's what they do. Um, NC State, yeah, whatever. Get a big bag, get the Haggerty bag before Haggerty does. But like other than that, we don't care.
Yeah. Also, like if you're Diebler, I'm saying you might have Darrion Williams at home.
Can I do something real quick?
Yeah. Is everything okay?
Oh no, Cart.
What?
Sorry. I'm trying to send the Kevin Young symbol. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, come
Hold
on.
on. Hold on, please.
Good Lord.
Please, Kevin Young, that's your music, that's your symbol. It's time. It's time for BYU to go back up the fact that they have deeper pockets than anybody in this sport.
Do they want Darrion
Hold
Williams?
the power play. Make the power move. If BYU added Darrion Williams this late in the cycle, they would be the number one team in the country.
Don't know if I want Darrion Williams.
Because you think he might want to play for Jake Diebler and that makes you out on him?
Yeah, I this is telling. This is really telling.
It is, but can I remind you that you loved Darrion Williams before 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, well, you find out something about people loved a lot of serial killers before they committed crimes.
All right, I'm just gonna look the camera dead in the eyes. I'm looking at you, Kevin. Kevin, my friend Kev. I challenge you to go get Darrion Williams. Like I want this to happen. I want to see you do this.
Denied the challenge.
Have overflowing riches. Just be the Scrooge McDuck in the bath of coins. That's what I want BYU to be.
We don't need a Darrion Williams.
Counterpoint, you might.
We're good.
Counterpoint, you might.
We're good.
This BYU team is not guaranteed to be great. With Darrion Williams, I think they would be.
You know what? Maybe, but I don't know. I can't. I think I might not be a Darrion Williams guy anymore.
Well, yeah, that's abundantly clear, but like I gotta drag you back. Because if he goes to BYU, wouldn't you be?
I no.
Like we're only out on Darrion Williams if he goes to Ohio State.
No, I think I'm out. I think I'm out for good.
You're out on all of it.
Yeah, I'm out on Darrion Williams teams.
Wow, this makes me sad.
Yeah, it was a good run.
I guess it was a great run. All right, well, at least we have a really dramatic recruitment to follow again. This is throwing me back to the beginning of April at this point. So, Darrion Williams, good luck, Godspeed, and maybe more good luck to the teams that are going to try and win the Darrion Williams sweepstakes.